Welcome to episode 15. Hey man, I got a great guest for you guys today, man. I got one of my very best friends. He's considered one of the best basketball minds in the country, man. And he's doing a great job with his player development. I mean, he got a long history in basketball. And what we share together in common is both of us understand how this game should be played. But I want to personally introduce to you guys my main man, Kevin Whitted. Kev, what's up, man?
What's up, Bo? See you, man.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm really good.
Kev, do me a favor. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man. Give them a little brief bio, man. The extent of that bio, man, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina originally. Proud son of Luther and Dolores Whitted. In a nutshell, had a great, career, as a high school athlete. Went to the same high school as the greatest player that ever played the game, Michael Jordan. So I got a chance to see really, what a superstar looks like at an early age. At which, that vision gave me something to dream about and aspire to be. So I went on, became the all-time leading scorer at my high school, surpassing him. Became a McDonald All-American, 1990. Signed with the University of Tenneseee by way of Pfeiffer College before I got there. Went there, had a 3-year career, played well, and after that, I had a career overseas, playing professionally for 8 years. Had 2 years in the NBA, kind of in and out, did a lot of the 10-day contracts. So after that, I just finished my career in Europe, and then I branched into player development side and coaching. Which has brought me up to this point now. It seemed like it went by so fast, but it was a process doing that.
Absolutely, and we all have different journeys. So let's tell the audience a little bit how we first met and how we came about and how we kind of connected, man. If you don't mind.
It's 20 years ago. We met in 2003 when I was at a point in my life where I was really kind of teeter-tottering with getting away from the game from a playing standpoint and getting into the teaching aspect. And we met at Swanee Sports Academy. I just got married at the time. I was really searching for an area to really continue to learn. And when we met, you were really in motion doing this fully. And I gravitated to you instantly because of, your detail. I saw your program side of you in terms of how to structurally put, players through a workout, but have a proper plan of action that would actually put them and catapult them to the next level. So that was really where I started, our relationship began.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I know sometimes every time you come to Atlanta, I really enjoy when you be stopping by, coming in and see what people don't understand is when you're developing or anything you're trying to grow, right? You never stop learning. And that's me, including with yourself. Once you stop learning, you stop growing. And, for those who think they already know everything, guess what? You're going to stop growing. So just learning the game and continue to learn more so you can give more, so you can teach more. And I always felt like that was always your approach and similar to mine. And I think that's why you considered one of the best basketball minds around is because you continue to learn more so that you can give more. I think that's amazing spirit to have. Let's jump in real quick, man. So Kev, let's talk about the state of the game. Let's start about the state of the game and the player development, right? On the player development side, in terms of the approach nowadays as opposed to the approach, let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago. And then how is that helping the game or how is it helping or how is it helping the game? How is it helping or how is it hurting the game if it's so? And then where's the problems lie in terms of our players being more fundamentally sound?
Wow, a lot to unpack. You're talking about, we just said 20 years ago we met, 2003. Just when we were just talking about how the game was evolving and changing, 20 years ago, and how we had to really get players to understand how to play the game under the rim, because at that time the game really elevated above the rim, and we had to understand how to get back under the rim and really start learning the game from the ground up. So, I heard you talk about footwork 20 years ago and how important it was, and I gravitated to that. And the state of the game today, when it comes to the player development side, it's unfortunately it's become watered down to a certain degree, because of when we came along, everything was about players returning to educate players. So you had to be a player to educate the next generation, and that's how we came along. That's how this really began. When I got into the league and came across NBA guys, there was always a veteran around that was just retiring or in the process of retiring, and they would grab young guys like myself and really mentor us aspects of the game, how we should approach, how we should prepare, how to take care of our bodies, etc. And they also took us on the court to work on certain aspects of the game that they felt that would give us a full career. And that's kind of the DNA of who I am. Those things never left me because I had a lot of mentors, a lot of people that really spoke into my life early on about certain aspects of the game, and I held on to it. And over the years, what happened to the game and to our business, what we do, the advent of analytics and also the advent of trying to create the position of player development, what happened was they changed the flow of how everything moves. So what happens if you didn't play basketball and you had some knowledge of something, people were hiring guys to actually do what we do. And what happened was, I think the situation of that was really productive. It took it kind of took a detour to a certain degree, and some guys did well with it. Some guys didn't do well, but what happened was it helped the game in terms of helping guys understand visually and in terms of watching film of how to do things, but it hurt the game because guys that were trying to instill this information did not have what we call the insight. John always used to tell us all the time, there's a big difference between insight and information. When insight meets information, you can really broaden the player's viewpoint of things, and you're able to execute it yourself, which that's another level of player development. And that's what's kind of lost today. We do have certain guys that can still get out there and do it. There are only a few in our industry that can do that, and they also have the insight along with it.
Absolutely. Well, you said something though that I want to touch on. Guys like yourself, myself, and this is not throwing jabs or anything at anyone else. At the high level, right, we grab these players and we develop them to get to a certain point. And then once they get there, just say they get to the league or whatnot, then they get the good old boy situation where guys don't even have basketball background just because it's who they know, and they put them in position. Because I get this information from my players who actually play in the league. Man, they had this guy. Man, this guy never really played before, and this guy weighed 280 pounds, and he just out passing the ball. He's not teaching me anything. So they put the good old boys around, and so the players really don't. Now, there's teams that got real professional guys. Don't get it twisted, but it's the good old boys, and it's guys like yourself, myself, that kind of have that the pedigree, have the background, have the experience, that know how to develop, right? Develop. I didn't say train, because you train dogs, cats, chickens, and animals. You develop people. So it's a mental piece that have to connect with that when you're trying to get players to maximize their potential. I didn't say get better. I say maximize. And that's a key word right there. So I just think though, I'm pleased with where I'm at, because now I'm making a bigger difference, because now we on the grassroots side, we starting at the bottom, which I love, because it continues to teach me more about the game. I'm still learning as I continue to grow and help other players and other coaches, right? And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Let's touch on this a little bit too, Kev, because as you know as well as I know, man, there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of kids, players out here. You've seen them as well as I. They got the potential, but they get bad information, misinformed. So they don't get to where they need to go because they get bad information and they got the wrong people around them. Can you touch on that for me just a minute?
Yeah, just right before we get to that, I was want to kind of add what we were just talking about and then jump into that. The advent of social media changed the aspect of how we go about our business. I think what happens because of social media, you look at my site. I'm not a guy that has 100,000 followers, and because we're kind of like, I believe that when we get you in the gym, that's what we should be focusing on. I'm not focused on creating a highlight to over sensationalize 100,000 times in order to get you in front of me. My playing experience and what we have done through our playing experience should draw you to the door. But to the question I think you had right now is about, what did you ask me again? I think it was about.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just pretty much a lot of these guys that have the true potential. Like
Yes.
you can see guys that have it, and they don't actually, for whatever reason, they don't make it through, or when they get there, they don't sustain.
Yes.
So why do you think? What do you think the issues is with that situation, with those type of situations, and how do we combat that? Now I know that's a touchy question, and but just give me your opinion on that.
But it's touchy, but it's real. A lot of guys are not prepared. It's amazing. A lot of guys and girls come into my gym and they get intimidated quickly because as soon as I grab the basketball, they see that I can do what they can do and do it better. In certain instances, I'm not I'm about bragging or anything. It's about players are not prepared. They think that they're prepared for certain aspects and they're not. And like you said, it's certain teachers out there that are truth tellers. Guys like myself, you, that list goes on. Kevin Eastman, John Lucas. That list is very short when it comes to what we call true truth tellers. And when you come to our gym, we're not there to babysit you. We're there to instill information and empower you. And I think that's gotten lost because everyone that's in our business now wants to be the player's best friend.
Right.
They're a big brother. Where when we came in, it was about, I need somebody that's like my father, that's going lay that heavy hand on me and let me know, here's what you need to be doing. Here's what you need to be focusing in on. And that's what's really hurt. That's what's hurt players.
Right.
Because we're coddling them. And when people come in our gym, they know you're not going to get coddled. We're going to tell you the truth. I'm going to sweat with you, and you're going to feel this. And
right.
Yeah, that's what's up. But that's what's missing. That's what's hurting players now.
Right.
Like us, they're already, they're like a deer in headlights.
Right. Well, Kev, I'm gonna tell you, man. Like social media, man. I mean, it has its pros and cons, and what I mean by that, having the pros and cons, is kids now is more visual. Like in terms of communicating right now, they don't even like really communicate. Like it's like mutes, man. I try to get them to speak on the floor. They don't want to talk. Kids don't even communicate no more because everything is like, on the phone. They don't want to talk to each other. We texting, you know what I mean? So, and then they're watching social media, man. And so they seeing a lot of these things on social media, highlights and things of that nature. Like you can make anybody look like they're a good player, just showing all their strengths as opposed to showing the overall parts of them, which everybody has weaknesses. And you never see those because they're showing all their strengths. And what it is a lot of parents, people are taking advantage of these parents because they don't know the difference. They don't know what's good and what's not. All they know is what their kid is saying and what their kid want. They don't really give the kid exactly what they need. So they can't, make that choice, the right choice to get them to the right people that's going to give them the right information. so that they can maximize. So just tell me what you think about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was alluding to when we were talking that what's happened with, you know, player development today and how things have been over sensationalized or only a few areas. So if you go on social media today in our field, the first thing you're going to see a lot of is a lot of ball handling. You'll see a lot of finishing, and you'll see a lot of kids, you know, shooting the basketball when no one is on there really explaining, like we do, where I learned from you. What does your program look like? What type of curriculum is set up to bring you from point A to point B to point C to D to E? And that's really what parents should be looking for when they're going into a setting where they want their player developed. And I tell people all the time, bring kids in that can't even hardly dribble or do anything, and turn that person into a mentally sound player. And that's when you should be, that's who you should be highlighting. And that's what people are looking for, you know, not just the finished product of a highlight film. They should be looking at the process. And that's the era we come from. Now, obviously, this generation here, yes, they're more, since they're more attracted to the phone, they're more attracted to, you know, the views. You know, we're looking at the views. I get it. I mean, we all are learning from it. We've learned from it. We're all looking and stealing ideas, but the thing is, the DNA of it is what we have to continue to stick to. And it's really what's affecting, I think, the future of player development. Because when I say watered down, that's what I mean by watered down. It's become watered down to the point where if you have some basketball skill, and, you know, I feel like anyone that says they think they have basketball, they think they can teach it. It's like a doctor. You would not go to a doctor that's not certified. You would not go to a clinical psychologist unless he was certified by the state. That's what's been lost in our sport. And I went to a golf, and I worked with a golf instructor one time. I talked to him, but he was a former professional golf instructor. My cousin's a former tennis pro. You know, he's a Hall of Famer now, but he's listen to what I said, a tennis pro, a former tennis pro, teaching people how to play tennis. But our game, because it's so quickly, you can get your hands on it. You can go to any park, you can go in the backyard and grab a ball. A lot of people think that they can grab it and just feel like they can teach anyone. So we have a bunch of community coaches out here today that have some knowledge of a few areas of the game, and they're trying to become experts. So it's affecting the development of our grassroots part of the game, because these young kids don't know. The parents don't know. The parents, they're not aware of the things that we know about, the trappings of the game, and how certain areas of the game you can get stuck in if you don't develop these areas. So those differences with guys like us. We have that information and that knowledge, and it's amazing to a certain extent. I'll be honest with you, since we want to be cut and dry with it, the world still does not know us. And we're really the OGs of this. Guys like you, myself, everything started with, you know, I look at Gannon Baker, I look at all these guys. All of us started in this business virtually in probably 99, 2000. That's when you know, really began. Now, Gannon took it to another level because he was the first to take advantage of, you know, the internet. And when he did that, it really catapulted the player development side, and it gave guys ideas. And when it started the business of training coaches to do player development, and then they turn it into training, not player development. So now we have a hoist of young men and women out here that are trying to teach basketball that never played at the highest level, past high school, which now their knowledge of the information they're getting is kind of at one level, when we have insight at this level about what the game can do for you and all the negatives and positives. And it's almost like we're muted to a certain degree, and everyone's people that's never done it.
Yeah, that's you're absolutely right. You're on point, man. You're so on point. But here's what I think, though. Let me ask you this too. um, there are certain qualities like you can be able to dribble, pass, shoot, run, just be an excellent you have excellent basketball skills, right? But there are certain other qualities that have to match up. So you got the tangibles and you got the intangibles, right? The tangibles a lot of times are obvious, but I'm talking about those intangibles. Like number one, how do players, I know how do, and I want to ask you, how do you develop those intangibles, right? How do you develop those intangibles if you don't have them? And then two is, how do people, and you can help our audience, right, find out how to seek that information, if they need it, right? How do you get yourself around the right people? That's number one. But what are the main qualities that you gotta have in terms of intangibles, right? That's gonna help you prepare your game to the next level.
Well, first thing we have to do, we have to, I'm big on identity. Let's identify who you are when you come in the gym. Like certain players are kind of, if they get to a certain stage of their basketball development early on, we can obviously see certain aspects immediately when they come in. But the first thing we always focus on is the same thing you focus on mostly. I'll begin with the feet.
Yes.
I always use Motown as my example. I come from the Motown era, just like you do. We're older. A lot of young people today, they don't even know anything about Motown. But I grew up watching Motown, and I really enjoyed their process because I studied them. But when you came in the door at Motown, the first thing they did was they got you immediately in front of the heads of people that could identify your skill. What do you do? Then after that, once they realized that, they said, "Well, you got to go see Charlie Atkinson. He's our choreographer. He deals with your feet. Can you move?" And then you got to go see Miss M over there, which she's going to teach you how to dress, how to talk, how to conduct yourself. You're going to see the Holland Brothers about your sound. And after that, once we get a sound, now we can think about recording. Now you can go see Barry Gordon. So the main thing is it's a process when you come in. We just don't immediately jump into what you feel like you need to do immediately. We're going to come in and build up certain aspects so when we get to a certain point of your development, you will be prepared to take that step because we worked on these initial things. Like we talked about the footwork, being not only just footwork, how effective are you through both feet? How's your hand-eye coordination? So we do a number of drills that impact your hand-eye coordination. We need to focus on mechanics when it comes to shooting. How are you shooting the basketball? How are you preparing to shoot? How's your hand placement? All those things are important. The intangible things that brings you to the follow through. But it all begins with the feet, and then and you finish with the follow through. And what happens is once we get a player to that point, now it's time to start talking about positioning, where you're going to be effective. I know we're in a positionless game today, but there's certain players that come in the gym. Once you get to a certain level of development, we can identify where you're going to be on the floor. Like I can distinguish immediately if you're a point guard based on do you have the ability to communicate and play at the same time? You have to have excellent ball handling skills, excellent footwork. Can you dribble, drive, and kick? Can you open jump shots? Can you slash? Those are the point guards do. Choose, run the floor. They're slash. They're able to manage to a certain degree, but their primary objective is to score.
Right. Well, all of that is you're right on point, man. But I think all of it starts with having the right mindset, right? Like, because with you, it started with your mindset. Because when you can control your thoughts, you can control your actions. Therefore, you control your destiny. So if you're thinking, when you got the right mindset where you want to be successful, because if you could see it, you could be it if you put in the work, right? And so once you do that, and then you get them in a situation where no matter, because like in my academy, man, I work with special need kids. I don't discriminate. because I know if they want it, I'm gonna give it to them. I'm gonna give them the recipe, but they just had to go home and cook it. And I'm gonna give them the
Yeah.
right stuff. So, but speaking on that, let's jump to the NBA, man. Have you been paying? Have you been watching the NBA any? Yeah.
All the time.
Who's
I
your
watch
team?
it.
Who's your team? Who you think gonna win the whole thing?
Wow, man, it's hard to tell. I mean, it's pretty even. This is the first time
Yes,
probably in the last decade or more that
I agree. I agree.
things are very even. I think because of how teams are shaped today and how the game is played, it's hard to kind of tell. Guys are just different today in how they play the game, and coaches are their philosophies are so much different from the time when we were playing. But I really love Boston. I like
Yeah,
the East. They're still
yeah,
playing the right way. Philly's tough.
yeah,
It's going to be tough. Milwaukee's hampered right now. You know,
yeah. Well, I'm just my opinion. I think that, and I agree with you. It's wide open this year. This is one of the first times that I've actually seen, like, I don't know who's going to win the whole thing. I think after this series, I get a better feel for who I think is going to be the front runner. Because you know as well as I know, it's the team that peaks at the right time, that plays together, play smart, play hard, and play together, where everything is just flowing. But no matter what happens through that whole process, every one of those teams are going to have some type of luck to
yes.
win it all. To win
Oh
it
yeah.
all.
Always come.
Example: the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? He's out. He's gone, man. I mean, he's out for the season. I think it's MCL. You know what I mean? So, unfortunate. So very unfortunate. He's staying hurt. But speaking of that too, um, a lot of players, I think a lot of players are getting more injured today than ever. And people talk about the workload, but I think part of it is it starts at the grassroots, to be honest with you. How they take, because kids play a lot, they don't stretch before, they eat bad diets because what you eat goes to your body. Nobody is helping them, about preventative and recovery, right? Nobody's really telling them that. They just go and play all these games and play, don't stretch or do anything. So as they get older, they think they're going to stay young forever, which is not the case. Then they get older and they start playing. It's going to wear and tear. See, Mother Nature is undefeated. You know what I mean? Mother Time is undefeated. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so at some point, it's going to get you if you don't take care of it, man. And don't take care of it. But I will say this though, man. Watching the NBA, some of these guys, man, the talent level is crazy when I'm watching some of the stuff these guys are doing. The
Mhm.
contested shots they shoot, the distance of they shooting the basketball, the athleticism, and that it's just remarkable when I watch some of these guys play. But even to this day, Kev, when I watch, you can tell some of these guys can play and they're just talented. They're in there, but some of these guys don't really know how to play, right? And that's the difference to me. I mean, they're there for a reason. Don't get it twisted.
Oh
But
yeah.
but knowing how to play, not only, and I'm gonna give you an example. I got two players that came through my facility that I work with, Lou Will and Malcolm Brockman.
Mm.
Both of those kids have gotten NBA top. Well, Malcolm got the Rookie of the Year, and Malcolm just got the Sixth Man of the Year this year. Lou got it 3 times. And if you watch their games, they're probably two of the most efficient players you want to watch play, right? Because they're efficient and effective, right? They get to where they want to, they do what they want, but it's all predicated on their feet. And nobody is watching that. Nobody's paying attention to that. So, I just know that when you stay with the basics principle, it doesn't matter what level you go to. Those basics, when you make mistakes or you have problems with your game, you always can go back. You have something that you can go back to and draw from. So what do you think about that?
Man, I'm gonna tell you. I mean, you touched on so much stuff just now. Injuries, injury prevention. Let's just start there. I mean, it's amazing with all the information that and everything that's involved with the game today. It's amazing. Guys are getting hurt. I mean, when we were playing, I worked for the Knicks. Spent time helping with the Grizzlies, the Pacers, the Nets. I remember seeing the evolution of all this coming into play, and all this was in the last 10 years, and just watching how treatments and everything, how they came about. And I'm still amazed how our guys continue to get hurt more today than they were when we were playing. Like we played through so much more adversity when it came to our body. Like, it was like we didn't even think about it. Like we just, like, if we were able to go, we went. And I'll never forget when my last coaching job, you know, we would come to practice and I would say, man, you know, what's up? They said, we got to meet first. So I had to meet with doctors and the training staff to find out who was in the green, the red, or the yellow, which is, you know, if you're in the green, that means you can fully practice with contact and everything. If you're in the yellow, it was kind of, well, we're not sure. Let's monitor him and let's load manage him. If you were in the red, we didn't let you do anything but lift for the day and get shots up. So we started getting mentally and psychologically, I think that information started to get in heads, and it really, to me, affected their approach about certain things. Where we came from a generation, it was like, no, I'm playing. It doesn't matter. So if you saw certain guys like Cole, MJ, the Birds, go all the way down. Those guys, they play. Like we hooping. I mean, it don't matter. If I can go, we're out there. That's the difference from that era and this era. Now, there are some benefits of that as well, because you can kind of premeditate certain aspects to keep guys healthy, to keep them going. So that's not an issue. But man, I'm gonna tell you, the guys today, I'm not saying they're soft. It's just, it's almost like they know too much about certain things, which sometimes it affects their long-term, you know, success, because
Right.
you know, they're almost like it's like they have mental blocks on certain, you know, of just getting out there to play.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is predicated. It's because the style of the game. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, the game used to be a lot more physical. And now the game is stretched out. So it's a lot of running and jumping, but it's like shooting from 60 feet away from the basket, right? And so these guys now, and the way that they got the rules, it's almost that you can't touch them. You can't touch them, right? So that makes it even more difficult for you to guard these guys. And that's why so many guys score 40, 50, 60 points. I've never seen that before. You know, guys getting 60. You know, remember back in the day, it was like 2 or 3 or 4 guys that got 50 or 60, if that. But they're getting them like, it's like anytime you can get 40, 50, 60 if you get going. It's because of the style of play. But what I will say though, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the talent, right? But when I really want to watch a really good basketball game, I watch girls basketball.
Yes.
And I watch a girls basketball game because they play the game the right way. I'm not saying the guys don't, but the guys, you know, because we got the athleticism, we tend to rely on that, as opposed to with the girls, they still, and they being more athletic because they dunking and everything, but they still playing the game on the ground, because the game at the end of the day, kid, you know that the game still played on the ground. And so that's why we got to help our young players, and that's why the European players are coming here influx and volumes, is because they played the game on the ground. So when you play the game on the ground, not only are you going to be more efficient, but you add in longevity to your game. That's why Lou Will got 16 years, is because he learned how to play the game on the ground when he was in the 7th and 8th grade. That's why Malcolm Brogdon is going to be successful. He's playing the game on the ground. And so we have to continue to empower and enforce that, in hopes that coaches and players and parents can see the difference, because that's what's going to be the piece that's going to help take their kids to the next level, and then play on the higher level. So we just have to keep doing what we do, man, because I know, you know, what we're doing is we're doing the right thing, and we're doing some good stuff, and we're helping a lot of people, and we're going to continue to do that. But what
I want to jump in on something that you said.
No. I want to talk about the Hawks first. I want to talk about your hometown. I want to talk about Memphis, man. Tell me about that guy Brooks, man. Tell me, do you know him personally, bro?
I don't know. I don't
What's
know.
going on with this dude, bro?
Dylan's all I know is I don't know him personally. But he's a
He's
big time.
tough.
He's tough.
Say it
He's a
again.
competitor. He's what we call a throwback to how things were when we were just talking about a few minutes ago, how the league and how we played the game. We played in a more controlled setting back in the day where everything was about ball movement. It was more about cutting. It was, I mean, even though we had 3-point shooting and we had a lot of, we saw the game evolve with the 3-point shot. We saw the full game, post ups, mid post, the mid range game. All those things were there at our time in the 90s. But yeah, moving forward, talking about Dylan, Dylan, man, he's a throwback of what we call the competitive playground dude that you just hate to play against, like
Right.
Tony Allen. There are only a few guys like that around.
Right.
Have to have a guy like that to
Right.
compete for championships because he's almost like he's got to be a little crazy. He's got to be
Yeah.
willing to take on things like Dennis Rodman would do. He took on things that no one wanted to do. It was like, ain't no way no one wanted to guard Magic Johnson 94 feet,
Right.
or Scottie Pippen. Scottie could defend like that. He was a gnat, but he didn't have the personality those guys had, but he was the same way. But Dylan's that type of kid. Still need to improve his shot, but that'll come,
Yeah.
with development. He just needs to get in
Yeah.
the gym. The other aspects of his game, they're there. And he's a lot more fundamentally sound than a lot of people think that, he is. He's a tough kid.
Yeah, and I'm watching him, and I can see all the things that you're saying about him is true. My thing is when you have guys like that, throwbacks, you get kind of like it's hard to kind of control him, right? It's hard because that's why he'll say things in the media out of content, and the timing could not be good because what happens is it put extra pressure on your teammates, right? So you have to be careful what you say. Like it's hard when when a guy like that, he's all in or he's all out. You know what I mean? He don't have no gray area. He don't know what that is because he's not wired that way. And so when you go into the press conferences, right? And you make statements like this, and you say, "Oh, they ask him a question," and they're gonna always throw you the bait questions, right? They're gonna throw you the bait questions and see if you bite them. And so they threw him a bait question, man. He said, "Man, no, LeBron, he's old." I mean, my
Yeah.
thing is, out of respect for the game, out of respect for LeBron and everything that he done for the game, man, I don't care how tough he is. You don't say that in the media. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy done so much for this game. Probably you probably wouldn't even be here if he hadn't laid the foundation for a player like you. So that was my only thing when he said that about LeBron. And this guy set an example for him, right? He set
Mm-hmm.
an example for him to play on the next level. I mean, to continue to, he's showing him how if you do it this way, you can play longer. And instead of showing respect, you let a sleeping dog lay. You don't wake him up and say, come and bite me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so he putting a lot of pressure on his team, man. And so that was my only thing, man. That was my
Yeah.
only thing.
I was going to add to that from a development standpoint. What's different today when it comes to even that aspect? When we came along, coaches after games immediately addressed the team. So what would happen? You see today, as soon as the game is over, the media has so much availability immediately to the team and to guys before they even get to the locker room. Coaches had an opportunity to set the temperature. When we came along, we went to the locker room. First thing coach would do is address how we would deal with the media. These are the things we're going to stay away from. Like we don't like I don't care what happened. We're not talking about that tonight. We got the win. We're happy about it. They came in, they competed, they gave us everything they had. They came at us. We're looking forward to the next game. Boom, we're going forward. That's win or lose. That's how the approach we take because we didn't want anything on the locker room that in their locker room written on the board for the next game.
Right,
That's pure. That's the era we came from.
right,
Where hey guys, coaches are not, they're not briefing players like they should. I mean, in the shoot arounds, I'm briefing guys constantly. I'm letting them know we're staying away from that. You know, we know we want to make sure that we don't give anyone bullet points. You know, we're here to compete. We respect our opponents. We keep that conversation between us.
Right.
And the greatest example of that is when, I'll never forget, when Michael was going against Gerald in '93, and it was that playoff series when Gerald said he was the Jordan stopper. And, you know, Mike lit him up for 43, I think. And after the game, they asked Mike about it, and Mike politely said, it was a great game tonight. You know, Cleveland competed. The Jordan stopper had a few, you know, he had some issues tonight, but I'm sure he's going to come back tomorrow ready to compete. But guess what? I'll be here too. That was it.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
I'm sure on camera, he had a lot more to say, but that's how you handle it professionally.
Right.
You acknowledge that something is said and you know about it, but you don't have to elaborate and continue to go, you know, to keep pushing the narrative. You know, you just you let the game decide the narrative,
Right.
not talking about, and that's the difference between of
And
guys.
then you're absolutely right. And then especially in the playoffs, man. In the playoffs, you know, and it's win to go home. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give you no extra ammunition, you know, because that's when everybody's playing their hardest is in the playoff. I'm not gonna give you the extra ammunition to want to play harder, you know, to go after me. You know what I mean? It's already a lot at stake. So it's just, you know, I just think a lot of our young guys, they need to understand and learn and have respect for the game. That's number one. And then have respect for the people that paved the way for them to be in that situation. That was my only thing, you know, how he is as a player. I love it because he brings so much toughness, tenacity, and he brings that energy similar to I call him a mini Draymond Green. You know what I'm saying? So it's similar, same thing. Those guys, they either hot or cold. They're not lukewarm. So it's hard for them to turn it on and turn it off. And
again,
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, but mentorship, you know, like I said, that's why, you know, when you look at the teams, you know, 15, 20 years ago, there were always veterans around. Like there were guys who safeguard how things were shaped. You know, you think about Udon, what he's been to the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
You know, they had the scuffle up with Jimmy Butler. I think it was the year before last. Might have been last year. And he jumped on Jimmy about how he was addressing Spo and the team, and they got it straight right then. Like they didn't wait. He was like, "No, we're gonna get this straightened out right now." You know, there was always a veteran around to safeguard the locker room, to make sure. And I was giving an example about UD and how he stepped up and made sure that that locker room and what was going on the court, that wasn't going to go down anymore. This is how it's going to go. And there was always guys around like that. We don't have enough of that on teams.
Right. And I agree with you. You hit it right on the head. And that's why Morant had his situation with the gun situation. That's why, you know, Dylan Brooks, he's not able to manage just some of the stuff that he does is because the average age in their locker room is what, 23, 24 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you said, it's no vets in there to say, hey, look, man, look, this is how we do it. Don't do it like that. But anyway, what you think about my Hawks down here, man? They got Boston last night, bro. They got them. That was big.
Yep. Tough game, man.
You saw the game?
Yeah, I saw it. Trey played last night. You know, he actually actually played a little D. So I can
see a little D.
My boy Quinn is doing a good job.
A little D.
Quinn Snyder. He's a culture setter when it comes to how we're going to go about playing. He's going to be a great asset to the organization. I know Quinn. He came through the D League with me. We met years ago. Again, a former player, has a great pulse for how to, when I say handle players, he has a great pulse of how to relate without losing the aspect of coaching. So to me, that's a big difference. It's you know, a lot of people say, well, how do you handle your guys? I don't like that. He doesn't handle guys. He has the ability to relate because of his experience as a player. So he understands when to leave guys alone. He knows when to step in a situation, when to step out. And that's going to help the Hawks. I think it's going to help Trae Young. because Trae Young's a young point guard is evolving and developing as a person as well, because he's not a big time talker. He's a performer, but Quinn is slowly but surely getting him to understand the full aspect of being a leader. And I think that time with him is going to really help him if they can, continue to grow the way they're going. But I'm enjoying watching their progress and big things out of the Hawks.
Yeah. Last thing, Murray didn't play. I think he was suspended.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I go and watch the games and I'm watching Trae, when he's playing with Murray, I think they still really, even at this point, trying to figure out how to play with each other, right? Because, when you get two players that's coming in like that, similar to Dallas with Kyrie and Luka, it's like, okay, your turn, my turn. Whereas used to, they just go, and as well as I know, when you start messing with those instincts, man, that takes some time to adjust. Because them guys, basketball is instincts. Because once you think about a situation, guess what? It's gone. And when you overthink and you overprocess the situation, not only is no only there, it's not going to be affected when you do it as much as you want to consistently, because you done thought about it. You can't be out there thinking when you play. And so when I watch the Hawks play, I watch Murray and Trae. Sometimes they get a rhythm, and I see they really making a really good effort to really play together. But I think the longer they continue to play together, man, because they could be easily one of the top backcourts in the league, man. Because Murray, man, he facilitates, he does a lot, and he's kind of like, to me, he's the glue of the team. That's my opinion. He's the glue of the team because he does so much. And the other thing I like about Murray is who he is, man. Bro don't drink. He don't go out. He don't do none of that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because they kids. You got to go. We did it. You know what I'm saying? But that was the choice that he made. And so that, to me, that makes him an ultimate professional, because he's so locked in to what he's trying to accomplish. He don't really care about the money he makes. He's trying to be successful.
Yeah.
And he got to look in that mirror and be honest with himself and know that he gave it everything that he got. And a lot of players, they showing up to play, but it's the things that they're doing when they're not on the court. Okay, are you trying to be the best version of yourself? Are you watching what you put in your body? Are you getting your sleep? Are you being dehydrated? And I know they got all this stuff in the locker rooms around them and all these cooks and all that stuff. But a lot of these guys, man, I'm looking now, I'm watching the beginning of the season. Some of these guys, that's why they get heavy. That some of these guys get big, because when you traveling a lot, you know what I mean? That NBA schedule, traveling and, getting in town at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And then, they got the thing what they call the wall, but it's not easy. But being there is a good thing, man. And I think the league is in a good hand. But Kev, let me say this, man. This has been an honor, man. An honor to have you on this thing, man, to share information with you, bro. And you know how much respect I have for you, man, and what you do and all the players and people that you have helped. Man, keep up the fantastic work, my brother, because you know what? They need us, man. They need us. And I'm so proud of you, man. Keep it up, brother. Hey, man, until next time. Hey, man, thank you for coming on, boy. I appreciate you, man. All right, peace out. Thanks, man. Thank you, bro.
All right.
All right, later.